Let's continue our journey to the number 5 spot. And who do we have here? We have the Hyundai Venue, who is currently the smallest and most adorable SUV in Hyundai's extensive lineup of SUVs. It's even smaller than their Kona model, and that's already pretty freaking small. But when it comes to cutesiness and adorableness, the Venue has them all beat by a mile. I mean, just look at that little thing. It's almost subcompact. Can you imagine a really huge dude like the Mountain from Game of Thrones try and get into one of these super tiny vehicles like the Hyundai Venue? Yikes! But for so many others, if you've been looking for a subcompact SUV with cutesiness in spades, this Hyundai Venue should be just perfect for your lovely journey. We're almost at the top 3, but not quite yet. So who is our runner-up to those 3 spots? Why, it's none other than the 2017 Chevy Trax. Here's a subcompact SUV that was very popular in a recent city that I was living in. For a good while, it seemed like 1 out of every 5 or 6 vehicles that I saw in that town was a Chevy Trax or a Buick Encore, which is sort of the same vehicle. It's sharp and stubby looking, like so many of the subcompact SUVs out there, but just very cleanly designed and not over the top, but also not so plain Jane either. Arguably, striking that perfect balance between the two extremes, just as many prefer. I think that its design has been minimalism done quite perfectly, and that's probably why it's been such a hit with so many subcompact SUV shoppers. And that's also why it's at this number 4 spot on this list of the most cutesy SUVs of all time. And now we have finally arrived at the top 3. So who is going to start us off? Who took home the bronze? It is the Kia Soul. Immensely popular, going by my eyes and ears, and recently refreshed or redesigned. The Kia Soul does look like it has a lot of soul and youth and vitality. And I think those were the goals that its maker was going for when they conceived of this fun, loving, and quite easy to live with little vehicle. They say, when one door closes, another one opens. And if you ask me if I had to pick and choose one vehicle that I'd say has carried on the legacy and torch of the now discontinued Scion XB, it is this interesting little guy right here called the Kia Soul. And why is that so significant? Because I think that the Soul might only be what it is today and has what is right now in the market, because that OG Scion XB started this whole thing and inspired them all in the subcompact SUV division. And of all the recent subcompact SUVs today, the Kia Soul most resembles that old legend and trailblazer of this division, in my opinion. So, nice going Kia for carrying on that amazing XB legacy, while at the same time doing your own modern and successful thing in it. Oh, we are now at the number 2 spot, the spot that almost was Mr. or Ms. Number 1. And if I wanted to be really mean, someone said that the second place finisher in a contest is just the first of the losers. Ouch! Well, you might be able to say that about quite a few other things, but with cars and SUVs, the number 2 spot finisher is actually the number 1 on a lot of other people's lists. So, with that out of the way, who is our runner-up on this list? It is the Jeep Renegade. The Jeep brand of SUVs has a long, storied, and legendary history. They've been around for what seems to be forever and have had many loyal followers and supporters over the decades. There's really nothing else out there that's quite like a Jeep. Well, when subcompact SUVs started to become popular, I was very curious to see what Jeep's take on this subdivision was going to be like. And here it is, Jeep's own version of what a subcompact SUV should look like. So how did they do? I'd say they nailed it right on the head. It was a tough call to place Jeep's Renegade at the number 2 spot, but the number 1 and 2 spots on this list are pretty much neck and neck. But I had to pick one, and not logically contradict myself, like how so many people will say that they have 2 best friends. Anyways, so here is the Jeep Renegade at the number 2 spot. And when it came to its looks, the most important thing for me was that it looks like a Jeep, and as alluded to, Jeeps generally look like no other out there. And you know what? This little Renegade sure does continue that unique Jeep look, feel, and legacy. And like so many of their other SUV designs, it definitely leans more toward the boxy side of things, rather than the sleek, sporty, and sharp side. But that's exactly how many people like it, and that's been mostly their thing throughout the decades. So if you're a Jeep fan and you want that Jeep touch and unique Jeep charm, but in a cutesy and diminutive package, no worries. Jeep has you covered with this Renegade at the number 2 spot here on this list. So we have finally arrived at the summit, at the top of this cutesy SUV's mountain. So who is it? Who is our champion of this unique, and for quite some time, atypical hill? First off, let me start by saying that this vehicle's existence came as a complete surprise to me, like a sneaky ninja, out of nowhere. Its production and existence absolutely and totally blindsided me, mainly because at the time I had fallen out of keeping up with the automotive industry because of the things that were happening in my own personal journey. But you know what? For a first attempt by them, here in the States, they have not done too shabby at all. In fact, I'd say they sure as heck really did knock it out of the park with this first swing of theirs. And it also has appeared like it has sold very well too, because I am not really being hyperbolic here. But some days, it seems like every other vehicle that I see on the roads around here is a Honda HR-V. It's pretty insane. Oops, I just let the cat out of the bag and kind of spoiled this first place reveal. Yes, our first place winner on this list is none other than the Honda HR-V. And so, when I did finally catch a glimpse of this beautiful-looking little thing, I thought that Honda's take on the subcompact SUV was perfect and right on the bullseye in this subdivision. But still permit me to elaborate and opine some more on why the HR-V is at the number one spot on this list. To start off, just look at it. It's like the epitome and pinnacle of how a subcompact SUV should look like. It's basically subcompact SUV appearance perfection, and I think that only the design geniuses at Honda could have came up with this super ideal and modern subcompact SUV look. One with the most perfect and ideal dimensions, and is the poster child for what a subcompact SUVs should look like. It's also what you find in the dictionary for subcompact SUVs if dictionaries had photos that came with their definitions. It's about as good as it's going to get for what a subcompact SUV should look like and how they should appear. Cute, adorable, diminutive, and, of course, really compact. And the HR-V has those things in spades. That's why it occupies this number one spot on this list of the most cutesy SUVs ever. Congratulations, Honda.